This is Debbie, and this is Light Up Your Worth. I am so excited to bring you this week's guest. We're going to go along on an adventure with Asha Farrah. She's an expat and a legal resident in Mexico. Originally from Harlem, New York City, and she's traveled to nearly 30 countries and 5 continents. She always desired to travel the world and live abroad, daydreaming about speaking different languages, having unique culinary experiences, and creating memorable adventures felt exciting. So after traveling to nearly a third of Mexico over the last 15 years, decision on which country she would expat, exploring the expat journey through financial freedom was her goal. She convinced her spouse to take on a 3-year debt-free plan before making the move to Mexico. After successfully paying back her student loan debt early, she began the journey abroad. She's observed that while there was information online that showcased the highlight reels of expat life, there wasn't anything that focused on the logistic steps to initiate the process. Moving abroad can be overwhelming, and having a guide that can explain the step-by-step process is necessary. That's why she created Mexpat Dreamers. Mexpat Dreamers empowers aspiring expats to design an intentional life by focusing on the logistical considerations necessary to thrive. So she does this through one-on-one consultation, discussion series, and relocation tours. And she offers customized relocation services tailored to complement your lifestyle desires. So I am so excited to welcome you here and really dig into this whole experience that you have had in creating this opportunity for yourself first, and then to be able to help others. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for that warm introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I've traveled myself. I understand the pull to travel
Yeah.
and want to dive into real culture. So
Yes.
I'm excited. Where exactly do you live in Mexico?
I live in Santiago de Queretaro, Mexico, in central Mexico. It's about 3 hours from Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, now how did you decide on this community? Is it smaller, larger?
Great question. For me, as you mentioned in my introduction, I wanted to be intentional when I moved abroad. I feel like definitely as women, we put a lot of people first in our lives. We're always making decisions based on other people's comfort. But this was one of the first times that I was going to be intentional about everything, Debbie. So I chose a place that had the right weather for me. It had the right landscapes for me. It had the right cuisine for me. I was intentional down to the bone. Prior to relocating to Santiago de Queretaro, I lived in Washington, D.C. I loved about Washington, D.C. It has so many amenities, so many art museums, so much live music, so much to be involved in. I'm a city girl from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I wanted a city full of culture, bustling with live music, things to do, sports. And Santiago de Queretaro, it fit the bill. They call this area the eternal spring. So we have spring like weather year round. So I'm talking like 77 degrees every day. And I knew I was done with winters. I was an East Coast girl. I said, this is my last winter. I couldn't do it anymore. And I wanted to live in an under the radar city rich with culture. So I wanted to push myself to engage in speaking another language every day. This felt like the right city. I speak Spanish every day. I'm able to interact with locals who are very friendly and welcoming. I have beautiful landscapes. Everything is right what I want it to be.
Oh, I love how intentional you were and being able to go and decide what was really important for you to flourish.
Yes, I wanted the successful life I dreamed of. As a woman, you go to the college your parents want you to go to. You live in a certain city because they have the career opportunities that you need. But maybe it's not your true intention. You're moving through life based on what everyone else suggests you do. or what's the right thing to do. This was my time to do something important and intentional for my success to thrive, Debbie.
That is so purposeful of what we are doing here on Light Up Your Worth. Being able to really figure out what we desire and then going after it and setting it with intentions and all of the energy. I know we mentioned this in the green room, was that in the spiritual community, I've met multiple solopreneurs who have relocated to Mexico. And so when I heard that this is where you're specializing in with all the logistics, I thought there must be a thriving culture that maybe some may not understand about Mexico that is opening to the spiritual world. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. What have you observed?
Yeah, spirit and energy are very much so alive in Mexico. It's part of the cultural. When you do a little bit more research on some of the ancient civilizations that were part of Mexico, the rich ancient civilizations, I should say, spirit was always attached. That's something that there were always a lot of spiritual practices, and that still lives here today in Mexico. And so, to your point, Debbie, I don't just specialize in Santiago de Queretaro. I've traveled through 50% of Mexico, 32 states in Mexico. I have experience in about 16 states. I help clients relocate throughout Mexico. There are a lot of yoga, energy, healing, spiritual retreats, things to do in many parts of Mexico. Places like San Miguel de Allende or Tepoztlan, Tulum are popular for that realm of work. If your audience is in experiencing that, that is something that is wildly popular here, but intentionally popular here, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah. That is beautiful. Now, how does somebody begin? Where do you start? Somebody reaches out when they're
Yeah.
interested, and maybe they don't know, right? They just know that they have an idea. Oh, I know so and so has moved there, but I don't know anything really. I've been to the resort towns,
Yes.
and I don't want to live in a resort town, but where do you begin that process?
You sound like one of my one-on-one intro calls. That's exactly how it starts. People letting me know I've traveled to Mexico, I've stayed on the resort. I've liked it for what it was, but now I'm looking for more. And so I would say the first things first to get started in relocating really anywhere, but specifically Mexico, you must familiarize yourself with the logistics, okay?
Hmm.
Because you don't want to fall in love with the place without understanding what the logistics are. In the logistics, what is the cost of living? Language immersion. Are you comfortable learning a different language if need be? What is the healthcare going to be like for you should you get sick? There is a floating currency here. Understanding how to utilize the Mexican peso, gaining an understanding of the culture, and making sure that the culture is the right fit for you. So, those are the things that when I first meet a client, I introduce them to what I call and have developed logistical considerations. So I developed this list of logistical considerations, Debbie, because I want to make sure that my clients thrive when they arrive. I want you
Hmm.
to have a successful relocation. So let's go over the logistical things to make sure the place that I'm suggesting for you is the right place for you to thrive.
Hmm. I'm going to make a big assumption here that if you're saying, oh, maybe Tulum, because I know my spiritual teacher had a resort there
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
keep hearing about it, and other people having it in Tulum. So I'm assuming people want to relocate, right?
Absolutely. And that's where the relocation tours come into play, Debbie. So typically, when I meet a new client, we figure out again the logistics. Are you eligible to obtain a visa so you can live here legally? I'm a
Mm.
legal resident, and I recommend if you're looking to move here, you become a legal resident as well. That's part of that list of logistical considerations that we go through in the coursework that I've developed.
Hmm.
Once I begin working with clients, typically we work together from the beginning of the relocation to the move. Throughout that process, you come down for a relocation tour. And what a relocation tour is, I want to give you the ins and outs of life here in Mexico. So we're going to try the local food. We're going to go look at apartments, currently on the market in your budget. We're checking out
Hmm.
neighborhoods to define your preferred neighborhoods. Debbie, we're going to the grocery stores so you get a feel for what day-to-day living is. We're
Mhm.
going to the ATMs and figuring out how to extract money, things of that nature, the logistical things, because believe it or not, Debbie, when you don't do those things, you get down here and you can become overwhelmed. So it's important to do a relocation tour to get a feel for the city. What is the pulse of the city? Do you feel good here? What is the energy of the city? Does it make you feel alive? Does it awaken your senses? Those are the things I try to share with my clients when we build out the relocation tour.
Yeah, that sounds important. I did an extensive amount of travel throughout Asia for work.
Nice.
And so you're there and you realize I would be facilitating some training and I would have to go buy supplies. And you quickly realize as you go there and you think, I have my corporate American Express. Then you find out hardly nobody takes corporate American Express,
There
right?
you go,
So you're
Debbie.
like,
Yep.
okay, how am I going to get the local currency, right? We didn't have any type of guide to help
Yeah.
us go find the right ATM. Where is
Yeah,
it? Is it in
exactly.
a safe part of the city? Some of the real, yeah, it was a real basics
Yeah,
of,
and that's what you need when you're coming to an unfamiliar place. You need that guide, and that's why I created my company, Mexpat Dreamers, to be the guide I didn't have. And people need that. I mean, it's unfamiliar, so you're like, wait, which ATM is the right ATM? Do they have 7-Eleven or CVS, which is different here? So you want to familiarize yourself with someone who's on the ground, someone who
Mhm.
has the experience and the lens to give you the appropriate feedback.
Who is seeking you out?
Yes, good question. I work with a variety of people. I've been fortunate to help over 100 people relocate over the last 2.5 years with my business. Something I'm very proud of because I don't look at it solely as a business. I almost feel like it's spiritual work. For a
Mhm.
lot of my clients that I work with, this is a fresh start for them. This is a new beginning. This is a new outlook on life. So a lot of my clients, Debbie, typically tend to be over 40. I do have some younger clients who are digital nomads, but frequently they're over 40. They may be empty nesters, divorcees, they may be people coming down with a spouse, they may be single. But typically they are women looking for intentional living. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Debbie, a lot of us tend to put other people first. That's just how we're reared. So a
Mhm.
lot of my clients, this is the first time for them to even hear questions like, what do you think? How do you want to live? What is your opinion? No one has ever asked them their preferences. Typically, those are my clients looking for a new beginning, a higher quality of life.
Let's talk about that quality of life with the
Yes.
almighty peso or dollar, right?
Yes,
I know there's a fluctuation with the
absolutely.
conversion. Generally speaking, though, how much further can you improve your life in the move if you have a certain amount of income for housing?
That's a great question. Most people I work with want to move to Mexico, and the first reason is it's cheap. I tell people Mexico is not a cheap country, Debbie. It's an affordable country, and there's a difference, okay?
Mm.
There is a floating currency. Everyone is familiar with the Mexican peso. It's used in Mexico. The US dollar is typically not used here unless you're in a more touristy location. So, again, if you're in Cancun and places like that, they're used to interacting with tourists or have those resorts, you're going to be able to use the dollar. But typically in cities like I live in, we use the Mexican peso and it is floating. It's not outrageously floating. Like one day is going to be $1 is 5 Mexican pesos, and then tomorrow is going to be $1 is 10 Mexican pesos. It is stable enough. But when I moved here in 2021, $1 was nearly 21 Mexican pesos. I was getting a lot of value for my US dollar. Since then, there have been a lot of things we know going on in the world, different elections, unfortunately for us, that do compromise with the value. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed a decrease. I've seen it go as low as $1, maybe down to 16.50 Mexican pesos. But fortunately, in the last few months, it has gone back up, almost hitting 20 Mexican peso. Okay,
Mhm.
now to your secondary question, Debbie, about the value that you can get or how much living really costs you out. I would say that depends, okay? It depends on the city you choose. Just like in the United States, you're going to have expensive cities like New York City, Washington, D.C. Those versions exist here. Remember, there are 32 states in Mexico. Are you moving to a middle class city? What's the value of the city? Where I live in Santiago de Queretaro, Debbie, it's a middle class city. You can get a nice modern 2 bedroom. On average, you can get something from 650 outside city limits to 1,000 US dollars. So it just depends. If you want it furnished, unfurnished, there are different caveats that apply to price points. I hope that was helpful.
That is very helpful.
Yes.
That's very affordable.
Yes, this is a middle class city. So this particular city that I live in, many people will say this is considered technically expensive, but it's a very safe city. And safety was not something I was willing to compromise, getting back to those logistical considerations that I discussed. But there are more affordable cities where rent can go between maybe 450 and 650, depending if you're whatever you're looking for, a 1 bedroom, a studio. There is variety in Mexico in the price points.
Are U.S. citizens and Canadians able to purchase property?
Yes, so there are a lot of expats who own properties throughout Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people retire. Yeah, a lot of people retire down here. Very popular in the beach towns. If you retire, get your dream life on the beach at your place.
Yeah. I know with women, one of the things that women think a lot about when we're traveling, let alone relocating, is that we think about our safety.
That's my number one logistical consideration when I meet the client, woman or man, because I think safety is important to think about across the board. Safety is number one and budget is number two by logistical considerations. And it's something that comes up about Mexico very frequently. But I like to tell people, let me reiterate, there are 32 states in Mexico. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, I hate to say it, that we go back to geography. Sometimes we think about Mexico as Cancun, Cabo, and Mexico City, and that's it.
Right.
That's where it begins and ends, and that's just not true. And so I live in the state of Querétaro, in the city of Santiago de Queretaro. This is a very safe city. As a woman, I feel comfortable going out in the evening by myself. That's not something I felt in Washington, D.C. or New York City. So many Mexican cities are safer than some U.S. cities.
Yeah, there's a lot of places I've traveled in the U.S. that I would not feel comfortable
Correct.
walking. And then there are places like where I live now. It's very low key.
Yeah.
In the rural part of mid Arizona. Love that. How has living in another country, Mexico for us, been transformative for you personally, your clients?
Absolutely. It's highlighted my purpose and passion. Many of us get away from is that curiosity, that childlike curiosity. When you think back about being a child, you're curious about everything. You're always annoying your parents, asking 1,000 questions. What is this? Why is this? Because of this. We lose that as we become adults. We lose that. It dims within ourselves. And I think that we need that curiosity and passion to feel excited, joy, purpose, and passion about life. Since moving here, I like curiosity again. That was important for me. Living in another country awakens your senses. And I think that's very important. I think when you're on that day-to-day corporate ladder that many of us are a part of, your senses are dim. You just get to the routine. You wake up, you make breakfast, go to the gym, go to work. The senses of being awakened by your smell, your sight, different things. You're not paying attention. Since moving to Mexico, my senses have been awakened. And that's so important to me. And I would also tell your audience something else that's nice about living abroad or traveling is you get to see a different version of yourself, Debbie. And that's so important. You deserve to figure out who you are in different scenarios.
Yes, our culture here in the US should require travel to different countries. You get to see the greatness of here, but also the greatness of other places, and where other places just approach things differently. And the flavors, like you're saying, everything waking up. I've had some of the most amazing food on my travels.
Yeah, same here. And that's why it's important to rediscover that different version of yourself. It doesn't mean you have to live somewhere else forever. But if you're constantly where you've been, you only know that version of Debbie. You only know that
Mhm.
version of Asha. But who else exists within?
What was something you found surprising in a delightful way about this?
What I found surprising about relocating to Mexico is how diverse Mexico is. So when you think of Mexico, you think of Mexican food. Same, you think of Mexican people. But I'm here to tell you, Mexico is extremely diverse. So again, I said 32 states. I've been to half of them. I've seen so many unique, diverse landscapes, Debbie. I've tried so much diverse food that is central to a state. It's almost like they compete here, which I love. Like when you go state by state, they're like, we have the best food. Have you tried our mole? In the US, you only know Mexican food as the few things that you've tried. So again, different weather. Most think of Mexico as extremely hot. There are cold places in Mexico. So much diversity here. That surprised me,
Oh, that is surprising. I didn't realize it got cold anywhere.
Yes, it gets cold. There are cities that are cold almost year round.
Oh, now that is
Yeah,
a surprise.
there are towns that sometimes get snow, like in Mexico.
Really? No, I had
Yes,
no idea.
yes. Things like that are surprising, and that's why I urge your audience to think outside your comfort zone. Find that other version
Hmm.
of yourself. You never know who that other person is that's craving to get out and experience that version.
Yeah, I have really loved my travels. I haven't nearly traveled extensively as you have in especially in Mexico, but I've been there about 4 or 5 times, and every time was delightful, especially away from tourist areas. You meet genuine nice people.
Yeah, I love that culture of sitting down and speaking. We live in such a digital world where it's even when you're having dinner with people or on the phone, here people value traditional conversation. They'll stop you on the street
Mhm.
and talk for 30 minutes. You really get to learn about other people. I feel like we've stopped learning about other people, Debbie. We learn
Mhm.
about people through characters on social media these
Yeah,
days.
I know. Through my life experiences, I've met amazing people whose parents
Yes.
were from Mexico. One thing that stands out is how strong their family beliefs are, how they hold their families. Such
Family is
high
central here,
regards.
Debbie. I was speaking with a client yesterday who's coming for a relocation tour, and she's coming on a weekend. And I shared with her, just FYI, Sunday is family day here culturally. So what that means is more businesses are closed, families in the park playing cards, just experiencing that time together. And I feel
Mhm.
like I didn't see that as much in the States in the last few years. I feel like we pulled away from that. But
Mhm.
family, kids, tradition, culture, those are the cornerstones of Mexico.
Yeah, I have a friend and their whole family every Sunday. Most of the family will be there. It's a large family. The parents
Yeah.
are now gone, but
Hmm.
the 8 kids most show up
Yeah.
with their kids and grandkids now, right? There's
Yes.
grandkids, and I've always been welcome, and it has been
Yeah,
so refreshing to
it
see
is.
that and how they will take you under their wings.
People always ask, how are you received? I tell people it's almost shocking how welcoming they are. Sometimes I've gone to social events, whether sporting events, arts, exhibits, museum exhibits. I'm standing in the back trying to figure things out. Someone will come back and come in Spanish, like letting me know, like, move in, gather with us, participate, be a part of it. And that feels so
Mhm.
nice. You don't feel like an outsider here.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling, Debbie.
That is a really good feeling. I remember one of my trips, more southern, it's not as big as Cancun's. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was relatively not really super touristy. And that Sunday, I wanted to go to service. I went to the Catholic Church, even though I'm not Catholic or have ever been a Catholic. But I went because I wanted that connection, and they were so welcoming even though I didn't understand anything that was I knew some that was being said. I have my high school Spanish, but they were so welcoming. It was such a great experience. So, what else would you like to leave the audience with? Any burning questions that you don't think we've covered that they should know about this whole experience?
I think we've highlighted a lot about Mexico and the expat experience. Give it a try. Think about how many things you tried, liked, or didn't like it. Give it a try, and the person that you become when you an expat is so worth it. I keep talking about recognizing that other version of yourself. Since I've moved here, Debbie, I'm a different person and a better person for it. I'm more in touch with myself. I'm experiencing another culture. Don't deny yourself that because it could be life changing.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Different experiences are something nobody can take away, and
They're
part of our
transformational.
tapestry. Yeah, very
Yeah,
transformational.
yeah.
That's wonderful. So one of the things that I always like to ask all of my guests, I have two questions.
Uh-oh.
One is, I'm a huge believer in music, how it can uplift us, change our mood. So what is your go-to song to help switch your mood?
Absolutely. My mood lifter artist is Shaka Khan. Immediately, when you hear some of the instrumentation on her songs, you are
Mm-hmm.
transformed. So, immediately. But my favorite Shaka Khan song is I Feel For You. You just
I
automatically,
feel
you want to dance. Even if you're in a bad mood, Shaka Khan, I Feel For You. Secondary group, Earth, Wind, and Fire always puts you in a great mood.
let's groove tonight. Yeah.
Exactly. You want to dance.
That's so funny. Just 2 days ago, I was listening to Shaka Khan on
Of course you
YouTube, right?
were.
I must have channeled what you were going to say. I've seen Shaka Khan at the Russian River Festival a couple years ago.
Wow.
She's just remarkable. Love both of them. So now, with knowing where you are in this part of your life
Yes.
and everything you've experienced, if you could go back and talk to your younger self about your worth, what message would you share with her?
I would definitely tell her that her self worth should be tied to how awakened her soul is. And I say that because soul work is never really discussed growing up. And I feel like as I have matured, I am more in tap with how my soul feels. And I feel like that's where my self worth lies. It's attached to purpose and
Oh, that
passion.
is beautiful.
Thank you.
That it's amazing what happens when we are tuned into ourselves.
We meet the real version of ourselves.
There's nothing like being authentic.
You can't buy it.
You can't. No accomplishment can change
No,
that, any
no, no.
degree, certificate, whatever school.
Career.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah,
none of that self worth. The art
yeah.
defines our self worth.
It's refreshing to meet somebody who has really pushed that thriving out to really follow where they're going and when relocate to be able to follow that passion of something that has been part of them their whole life and do all the travel and now helping other women
Yeah,
follow those visions and dreams. So I'm just so appreciative that you are doing that work
thank you.
to
I think
help
it's
others.
important. I
Mhm.
appreciate you recognizing that.
Thank you. How can somebody reach you if they're interested in exploring this and wanting to learn more?
I'm very active on Instagram. I chronicle my life as an expat. So if you're just interested and want to understand what day to day living is, or you would like to possibly relocate, reach out on Instagram, MEXPAT Dreamers, all one word. And then you can also reach out on my website, which is just going to be www.mexpatdreamers.com. I look forward to being a part of your journey.
Thank you, Asha, for sharing this incredible adventure, following your heart and your dreams and connecting to yourself. It just really does show. You're just
Oh, thank you so
glowing.
much.
You get
Thank
excited
you.
and
Thank you, Debbie. I've enjoyed this conversation with you. This has really been nice to talk about the journey that I've been on. So thank you for the opportunity.
thank you.